Welcome to episode number 47. P, you okay there?
Is it?
My Pete, it sounds like Pete's got coronavirus. I'm not gonna lie. This guy needs to go do ablution ASAP. And not even with water, with sand. You know them ones.
How is everybody doing?
Feeling good, man. This is a big episode. Pete's been driving the agenda for this week, so hopefully this guy can get focused and switch on.
Oh man,
Exactly.
How you feeling? How you feeling, Ollie? How you feeling, Daniel? Good?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good. Can't complain. I can't wait for some sun.
Yeah, I mean, we're close to summer now.
Ollie, you going on holiday?
No, I'm not going anywhere. I just want some sun in London.
Oh, okay.
So you're here with Pabilo, Shawel,
Yes.
Daniel, and myself.
Yes.
So on this week's episode, we will be talking about purpose.
Ooh, this is a juicy topic.
So
The topic of all topics.
this episode was created by
Shut.
Pabilo,
Yeah, go ahead.
Sponsored by.
sponsored by Pabilo. So I can't wait for all the gems that he's about to drop.
It'll be narrated by Pabilo alone. You guys are gonna just listen.
This is a good one.
I'm all for that.
So one man army tonight, baby.
I
So
think
for our
you
listeners,
still got some custard on your top lip, by the way.
get ready for a great episode about purpose. Yep, go on, sure.
So just because we're at the beginning of the episode, I just want to give a quick plug. So we have big news: restocked our Take Flight podcast tracker hats. So we have got a limited, and when I say limited, it's very, very limited supply of Take Flight podcast hats that are back. It's more than one. 'Cause I need to make a profit from it. So yes, guys, they're just in stock. They're back on sale. I know we had a bit of a waiting list and we didn't have anything for about 9 months, but they are back in stock. If you want a limited edition Take Flight podcast tracker hat, please DM at Take Flight podcast Instagram page and let me know. But we are back in stock, baby. Ollie, go ahead. Sorry.
So for the listeners, get ready for this episode. It's going to be a really cool episode about purpose. So stay tuned and let's get started.
Take off, take flight with you. For we never fly, but we're flying.
Someone was to ask me, so what's Daniel's purpose or Ollie's purpose? I don't know if I'd actually know the answer. Even Peas, I don't know what I would.
I think
Well,
it's more.
say-
Come on, you must know mine. Give it a go. Come on.
Health, wealth, love, happiness.
Property.
No.
I
That's
think
not my purpose.
purpose is more of a personal thing, though. I wouldn't say you know someone else's purpose.
So how about if we were to share our individual purpose? Maybe whoever goes first can explain what purpose means to them, and then we can explain it. Or maybe we can define it as a group, and then we go.
Daniel, why do you define what purpose means?
No, let Pete do it. Let Pete do it.
Well, defining purpose. My understanding of purpose, it's everybody has their calling whilst they're here on this earth, and you can connect calling to purpose. Everybody's actually designed and made to do one thing and do that one thing very well, and I think they're probably the best at that thing. The question that comes around of, do you chase your purpose or does it chase you? Like, do you find it or does it find you? So I think purpose is connected to calling.
So you think it's just that one thing that just ticks?
And I'm not yet sure if it's actually something you're talented about. I just think it's something which your calling was to actually do this.
So that's interesting. So maybe we can start a discussion around the definition, because for me, when I think purpose, I think what's the reason why I get up every day, and it gives me the drive. So when I think purpose, I actually think more what's drives me, what's my why that makes me get up every day, rather than a specific skill or something. But that's kind of my take on it.
Daniel?
So, but just quick. Okay, I want to come back to that point. Actually, go on.
Purpose, I would say it's what you're here on earth to do whilst you're breathing. It's what you're created to do, what you're created to be. But some people's purpose is different to others. So some people could be to impact the whole nation. Some person's purpose could be to impact one or two people who would then go on to influence and impact nations. But it's really essentially what you're here on earth to do.
And Olu, what's your take?
No, I agree with Daniel.
So you're and Daniel. So P, what were you gonna say?
I think myself and Daniel were similar. Or Daniel, do you see a difference?
No, I agree with yours, Pete.
I think
To some degree.
sure, what you were mentioning is more your why versus your purpose, or which
Because-
you can,
Because your purpose
I think-
your purpose might not get you out of bed every day, because we all might not even be living in our purpose, but we still get out of bed every day.
Yeah,
That's more
Well-
your why.
'Cause
exactly.
I think Shawad, I think the point you was alluding to is it's a purpose you've worked on, and you've kind of conditioned yourself to get to a point where you realize, okay, this is the reason as to why I'm going to work today, or I'm helping a set of kids, or I'm running this particular program. I feel that from the moment we were born, there was something that we were called upon to do. So before we start going to school and start working, we're just going through this journey and trying to find ourselves. But I think our whole purpose in life is to go back to that point, but find what was I put on this earth to do in the first place. And it becomes very difficult because there's a lot of conditioning along that journey. So I think
so go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. That's
No, I was going to say. So I think it'll probably be easier for me to see it when you explain what your purpose is.
what your purpose is.
Yeah.
it's true.
So what's yours?
I think I'm still thinking it through. I think my purpose is, and I don't want to sound cliche because many people will say, "Oh, that's quite a cliche purpose," but it's in some.
Share it, big man.
No. It's not one. It's not. I haven't got the one thing, but I think I've got the type of work, and the type of work is a form of teaching.
Okay.
And I think if I try to look at my mother's a teacher, if I look at my father as a doctor, he, helping patients, I think my purpose is somewhere along the lines of teaching. But that teaching could also be in an Islamic form. Doesn't necessarily mean it's teaching in property or teaching young kids from my area in terms of how to progress in their career. So I think what I've got today with me is the form of teaching. Then I think I have to find out, what am I supposed to be teaching?
And is that something, just to focus on that for a second, Pete, is that something that is a continuous development, or is this something that you felt for like the last 1, 2, 3, 5 years, or the last 6 months, or what's the?
No, I think I've understood the teaching element over the last few years. Probably not like 5 or 6, but let's say 2 or 3 years. I don't think this may come as a surprise. I don't think property or teaching any property principles is anywhere near my purpose. But I think I'm doing that because I can do it. It does make a difference. It keeps me going, but I'm on my way to finding out what it is.
Okay. No,
but the other thing I will say, and this is the scary part, I may not ever get there.
Because you're too busy on property, or just
because maybe
I don't understand why.
you could. Yeah, it's true. Good point. Why would I?
Is it because you're getting distracted on your path to where you should be, or I'm trying to understand?
I think that brings a good question around how much time do we spend thinking about our purpose, and maybe there's a risk of not actually reaching it because I may have spent too much time in property. I still would have made a difference and helped people's lives and contributed and helped my own family life. But then when it's all said and done, was that actually my calling?
Yeah.
That's interesting, because now that you've explained it, I can see what you mean. Like, what is the reason why you feel, or what's that one thing that you feel is very natural to you compared to other things? Which is interesting, because I don't actually, now that you've mentioned it like that, I don't know what mine would be actually. But who would want to go next? I can kind of explain it from my perspective, but only go ahead, because you guys seem to have a similar definition.
Yeah, so I would say mine would be something that has just been natural to me, and not teaching, but I would say leadership and leading. Um, from just a young age, I remember even at school, during parents' evenings, the teacher would say, "Hey, Olu's a great leader. If Olu wants to do work, the whole class will do work. If Olu doesn't want to do work, the whole class won't do work. Olu can easily influence people and make people move in a certain direction."
So you're a gang leader. You're a gang leader in school.
Mate, if Oli does a chest workout, everyone's doing a chest workout.
I wouldn't say the gang member, but no, it's just in terms of leadership. And I've seen that in regards to certain things I've done in my life. If I say taking those courages and challenges to travel, right? I remember a bunch of people from my church coming over to me and saying, "Hey, Olu, if I didn't see you do what you did in terms of traveling, I wouldn't have been able to travel myself." So that leadership element I've seen is just something that I feel is my purpose. And now in this leadership element, right, there's multiple ways you can lead people. So that's the area that I need to make sure that my focus is on the right thing. So another example was at university. One of our roommates for a period of time, not going to mention his name, but during university, he started to take his faith more seriously, right? His Christian faith more seriously. And the reason he said that, he was like, "Oh, I remember when we lived together, Olu used to force us to come Bible study." And after I introduced him to Bible study and he started coming to Bible study, he decided to be born again, completely saved. And he's now even more ahead of me in terms of faith and religion and everything. So I think my purpose is leadership, and I find it easy to influence people and make people follow a vision or something that I'm interested in. Now, the area is, okay, how do I make it into a big impact, right? Do I do it to something that is more what you could class as worldly? Yep. Or do I do it in a way where it's more religion, bringing people to Christ? So I think that's the two elements where even my pastor at the time used to always try and get me to get involved in things in the church.
It's interesting you said that, because I've actually thought that my purpose is to be an imam. Having spent a couple of years in Saudi Arabia, I always thought to myself, well, why did I spend those years there? There was a reason why I was there and does it have anything, is it connected anyway to what I should be doing on a full-time basis?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Daniel.
Go. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to.
Let me set up for this one. Let me just set up for this one.
Nothing to set up for.
I
was actually going to share a story of someone else in terms of like people that lived with purpose, etc. But I'll be honest.
Share. Maybe you can share that as a quick interjection. Then share your story. Share your why.
Okay. No. So there was a very famous scientist who was actually reported dead by accident. And it was a mistake. So he was reading a newspaper. He saw that he was it had been announced that he died, but it was a mistake. It was actually his brother. But there was an obituary that had been written. So he took the opportunity to read the obituary to see what was said about his life. And when he read it, he was actually very shocked. And the obituary was titled "The Merchant of Death." I don't know if you've heard of this story before, but you will know the person when I say his name. And the fact that he planned to his ultimate plan in life was to plan to kill people more quickly, because he was the inventor of dynamite, and we all know the catastrophic effects dynamite can have. So from that day actually changed his life. So he started working towards peace, and he wanted to recognize and award those who achieved outstanding achievements towards mankind in subjects that interested him. So peace, science, physics, etc. And he was actually one person who was very lucky to read what was written about their life, which many of us probably will not have the opportunity to do. And that day changed his life. So his name was Alexander Nobel. And he's the person who invented the Nobel Peace Prize. And he used all the money. He was a very rich and very, very, very rich man. and all the money, even in his will in the fund, he funded it to the Nobel Peace Prize to continue the work after his death when he eventually died. But that's someone who, of course, their course of life changed, the trajectory changed dramatically because he read what was read about his life. So imagine if we were able to read what was said about our lives and how we'd then go on to change it depending on what people say.
Yeah, I'd love to read that. I'd give good money to read that right now, just to get that kind of uncut view of what your nearest and dearest think of what you're trying to achieve. That would be worth its weight in gold.
I think, but you know what's it's funny? It's interesting you said that. I think you can actually you could actually ask the ones around you to write your eulogy, because I've attended leadership workshops where that's actually one of the exercises.
An exercise, yeah.
So I think maybe it's an action item for us to think about.
But I don't think people, not that they wouldn't be truthful. It's more emotive when the person is no longer there, and that's when all the memories come flooding back. I think
and I think, Daniel, is the good and bad, right? If you're asking someone to give you certain feedback, they might not be as honest and transparent to your face.
It's true. But what you'll find is what is not written is what you probably want to work on. Does that make sense? Exactly. So if it's all good, the piece that's been missing is where you want to take consideration. But
no, for sure.
So
Daniel, what about you?
We'll share that story on our feed. No, because it was really profound. Because I don't think a lot of people know that the Nobel Peace Prize is, of course, named after Alexander Nobel, who was born in Sweden, and he was actually the originator of who created dynamite.
And his museum, by the way, is down the road where I live in Stockholm. In case anyone wants to.
So, if any of our visitors, if any of our listeners wants to visit, Shiwal, give him a call.
Call me. But back to your
Daniel.
question.
Now the main question: what's the big man's why purpose?
I don't actually know. I'm still discovering it. I'm still trying to navigate and see what it is.
If you had to answer today,
I don't have to answer today, so I won't.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying, you know what I mean, in the sense of
tell you that whiskey that Daniel's got in his hand is strong.
You've obviously given it some thought. You're not the type to not have thought about it. So, what would you say it's closest to?
I think everyone's purpose. I'm not trying to avoid your question or generalize. Everyone's purpose has some element, or I think everyone's purpose is to impact a group of people or someone for when we're gone, that legacy lives on, whatever that may be. And for me, what that is, I don't know yet. But it's not. Of course, my purpose is to leave something behind to impact the future generations to come after me.
I think your purpose is connected to a kitchen, fam.
Those cocktail recipes. Those cocktail recipes.
You coming back soon, baby.
You hear it first here on Take Flight Podcast. We're having a supper club this year.
Boom. And for more recipes and for up-to-date food and amazing images, videos, etc., at Home with DJ on Instagram. Hit that page up.
Rebranding coming soon. We've got some big plans coming.
And not only have we got big plans, but we've got also a restock of Take Flight Podcast trackers. Always got to keep that.
Do you guys think?
I feel like we let kind of Daniel lightly get off on that one. Is that cool from Daniel?
That's cool.
It's not really cool.
Saying he doesn't know his purpose at the moment.
I don't know.
Yeah, he doesn't know his purpose. No. Actually, no. Yeah, I think Shiwa, you're right. We are letting him. So, what are you doing to find your purpose? Or
go on, Chester.
I'm praying
go
about
on,
it.
Chester. Lead that. Lead.
Huh?
It. Go on.
I'm praying about it.
You're praying about it. Okay,
that's my answer. Yeah. I'm not about that. That is actually what I'm doing.
That's a great answer.
A man like Olu, he just said his purpose is his face. You know that's the best way to get him to be quiet.
He knew by bringing on. Like, you can't say anything after that. Can't say anything over.
No, that is actual truth. I'm not trying to.
Daniel,
have you spoken to anyone? Another thing you could do is speak to someone that you might respect or that's wise. who
That's
do you feel
that's
like they
I
are living?
have, but I just didn't spoken to you. Spoken to Sean.
Daniel,
Oh,
Daniel,
no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Because you know Ollie's smiling, but he's hurt.
I was like, that's a low blow. she won't even know what purpose was before this. No, but no, on a serious note, that's another way to and I think that's something we don't do enough is speak to people that have been through life, got experience, and we believe are living in their purpose, to ask them, okay, how do you navigate through sort of your young life? And I think that's something we don't do enough of.
Check out. Okay, I want to hear. Okay, let's hear the way that P was.
No. Well, Dan, I was thinking about.
Can I just ask one quick question, Olu? To your point, you should ask people. Do you think this is something I've kind of gone a bit back and forth in my mind about? Like, even when I ask people, I still think that your purpose and your why, even though I've clearly just figured out the definition now, can only be driven mainly by yourself. Even when others tell you, "Oh, well, this could be it, this could be it," it's still, unless it clicks for you, it's difficult to take that on board. Because even advice that I've received maybe 2 years ago, it may only just click now why that makes sense. So that's the
no. So I would say it's less about asking for advice about what your purpose is. But asking how did that person find their purpose, which could be different, right? So it could be like, okay,
the process
with your purpose. If you feel challenged or whatever, and you're like, oh, I don't feel challenged at the moment. I feel okay, so I know I'm not. I need to do something different. So they can give you the process, more the process. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
P.
Yeah, Dan, you spoke about you think everybody's purpose is somehow connected to wanting to contribute and help a group of people, or do you think purpose can be impact? Do you think purpose can only be yourself?
Can you expand on that?
I don't even know what I'm trying to say because
that just sounds selfish. That just sounds like yeah. But I'm living my life. I don't care about y'all.
No.
Mandy, if you're listening, please make this a video clip.
Yeah, no, definitely. Is that no?
His face was like,
wait. Yeah, no, because of
I don't know.
You look like he was the one waxing back the whiskey. I was thinking,
no, because I personally feel this conversation is actually going to help us in our journey to think about more about our purpose. And so I asked the question because come on, Shaw, man. I asked the question because you said everybody's purpose has something to do with helping a group of people or making a contribution to make an impact. I'm just kind of being a little bit not devil's advocate, but I just kind of said, is purpose something that can actually be just for yourself?
I don't think purpose is self. Purpose is you're emptying yourself out. I bet if I find out the definition of purpose, the Greek, it probably means the PUR means about self and releasing, embodiment. No, but it probably does. No, but I feel like you're on this earth to empty yourself, and you can't empty yourself to yourself.
Yeah, that's what. See, that answers clarified a lot. No, it's true. Hey, sure, stop laughing, man.
No, he's just happy that someone just got him out of that grave. That's why. Because he was just
no. It's not no grave. I'm literally thinking as I'm speaking. The other thing I want to ask you guys about, how do you guys think about this whole discussion around? I think they tie money to it. So once you find your purpose, you can do it for free or something, stuff like that.
Isn't it something like if you find that you never work a day in your life? Isn't it that one?
Let me ask a question. Okay, let me ask you another question. Do you think you can see yourself living your full purpose without getting paid in that sense?
Yeah.
Of donations, yeah.
That's a strong yes, boy.
Give me donations, boy.
And that's,
sure,
I guess.
Sure. What's going on? Struggling. You answer the question.
That's different because I feel like you're trying to compartmentalize purpose and money because you essentially could be living your purpose but being funded by a different avenue. For example, take property.
Exactly.
You could be making a lot of money from property and using the money you get from property to fund to fill your purpose.
Did you say? and Daniel. And Daniel, that's the same way I see it. I see it exactly the same way as you, Daniel, in terms of a lot of stuff that I'm doing right now is to buy the freedom to truly be in my purpose. That is honestly is like, I believe when you, in my mind is, if I'm financially free, then I can go 100% down my purpose versus sort of trying to be in my purpose and worrying about when my next meal is going to come, how I'm going to provide a life for my family and kids, etc. And maybe that's not the right way to think about it, but that's
But you
sort
know,
of like the stage
Ollie,
I'm at.
Ollie, you're talking to doing whatever you want to do. We're talking about
No.
purpose, bro.
No, when I say do what I want to do what I want to do is my purpose. Like I would love to be in a stage where I can open some sort of coaching school.
That's not your purpose. That's not
What do
your
you mean?
purpose.
That's not my purpose. What do you mean?
I feel like I know we're working towards the same thing. Achieve that freedom to then do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But then I'm now thinking, similar to my other question, is doing whatever you want to do the same as your purpose?
Yes, because you don't know what do I want to do.
No, but actually, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Ollie.
Okay, I don't answer that question.
Because you're acting as if what I want to do is just sit on a beach and chill. So
no, but that's the thing. But I kind of see where P's point is.
No, I'm not.
Imagine if you.
Yeah, go ahead. Go. Okay,
go
go.
ahead, P.
No. So I know you're not trying to leave your 9 to 5 to go on the beach, and actually I'm going to make a post about that soon. Nobody wants to do that, really. But what like as we're having this episode, I'm really starting to think about how if I have the freedom now actually for a couple of months, and I'm doing what makes sense from a wealth standpoint, and then I can obviously talk about and give some advice around property. I'm doing what I want to do. Someone could look at it and say, "Oh, P's living his purpose." Is that really? Am I really though living my purpose? Or
that's something only you would know.
Yeah.
No one can tell you whether living your purpose, you know. Like,
I think
no one can tell you what you're thinking.
But the way that I understood what the comment that P was making, and I think this is the angle that I kind of understand, is not talking specifically about Olu, but just talk about anyone else. If you were to give someone all the money in the world, all the freedom in the world, you still can't guarantee that person will have the freedom to find their purpose, because that's really something that's in them that they need to kind of seek to see if it clicks in place. So even though, does that make sense?
It does.
Sure.
Yeah, it does.
Sure. I feel like you need to articulate and translate Pabilo's questions, because I don't really understand his own question. Because what you said made perfect sense.
First of all, my comments have helped him to make that point, right?
It's alley oop, basically.
Yeah, come on.
You're Patrick Beverly. I'm LeBron.
Daniel, go ahead.
No, I think I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding and misconstruing what's been said, but I don't feel as though purpose is inextricably tied to money.
Agreed.
Because you don't need money to fulfill your purpose, depending on what your purpose is.
Agreed.
Like, think about, say, I don't know, Mother Teresa. She wasn't the richest person.
Yo, listen.
She lived in Calcutta.
All right.
And she was very effective. And also
everyone uses her as an example. Like she's
the first one that came to mind. But also sometimes you might not. Someone might like I said,
everything.
There could be donations. There could be some, like I said, your avenue could be someone who provides money for someone else who will then have an impact. So you could be put in a position of creating and amassing a large amount of money, and your purpose is to fund someone else's work, but you're filling your purpose. So the person who's given the money, their purpose is to give the money. The person is then doing the stuff with the money, they're filling the purpose.
Yeah,
so
that's deep.
That's and I think, Daniel, the thing about what you just mentioned, right, and I think this is an area that people struggle with, is a lot of times we compare ourselves with other people, right? So the person that's giving the money will say, "Oh, am I truly living in my purpose?" Because the person that's getting the money is going out there reaching millions and millions of people. And you don't realize that everyone's purpose is completely different, right? Like your purpose could be to generate a certain amount of income to break your generational poverty of your family. Like you can take your family to a place where it might not be you, but your son or your grandkid can do something that's revolutionary or changes the world. We're all in different places and we all have different purposes and missions on this world. And I think so many times we're comparing and thinking about other people's journeys and saying, "Oh, we're not truly in our purpose because we're not reaching as many people as this person, or we're not doing as much as this person." But we should just slowly stay in our lane, and we would truly know in our hearts of hearts if we are truly meeting our purpose.
even if you stay in your lane, you can still get run over. But
Okay. Thanks, Daniel.
but when you said that, it brings me back to the point of the person that I met from the film Just Mercy, Brian Stevenson. Like, he's someone who's fighting for injustice, so people that are sentenced to death row. I would say he's living his purpose. But also, if we just take that analogy, someone who's fighting criminal like injustice, you could be doing that at a very large scale, or you could just be doing it in your town, but yet you're still living your purpose. So, like you said earlier, you shouldn't compare what you're doing and what your purpose is to someone else, because someone's purpose might be to do at a national or international scale, but someone's other purpose could be just a regional or town.
Yo, Daniel, I just watched Just Mercy this weekend,
Yeah.
and
Did you cry?
nah, so
You did.
some comedian was talking about Michael B. Jordan, and they
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, he's got limited facial expressions." Yeah, like his facial expressions don't always change. Like, it feels like you're watching Creed. So after I've heard that, every time, like whilst I was watching that movie, all I could see was Creed. I couldn't get that out of my head, so I couldn't take the movie as serious as I wanted, because
That's
I
a
kept
shame.
just seeing Creed.
That's a big
It's
shame.
a really good movie, but it's just I struggle to get that out
That's
of
a
my
shame.
mind.
That's
The
a
facial
shame, because
expression.
you allowed your mind to limit what you were seeing in front of your
Next
eyes.
time you watch a movie with him, try and get that out of your head.
But there's also the Black Panther. He was in that Creed 1, Creed 2. I understand what you mean, but
Yeah.
that, and it kind of not good for actors if they're always kind of stuck to one type of role. But
So, Shuel, I'm not sure you mentioned your purpose.
No, so basically, it's good that I've had the chance to get this. It's good that
sure, purpose. Come on.
So it's good that I've actually heard you guys explain it, because if you know what we were talking about at the beginning. So what's the definition of purpose? For me, it was the reason, why do I get out of bed to do what I want to do? And the way that I would have answered that, because I've been thinking about this, especially over the last couple of months, is I think a lot of what drives me is to try and help as many people as I can in whichever thing that I'm trying to do. But again, I don't know if this is really in line with how you guys define it, because the reason why I say that is because I realized a few, like at some point last year, when I was in Bangladesh, I found out the story of how my dad came from Bangladesh to the UK. And basically, he got the opportunity to go to the UK because his dad, my grandfather, had lent money to a neighbor who got into a bit of a financial difficult situation. And this is all relative because he's from a very rural part of Bangladesh. And basically, that neighbor, when he went back to my grandfather to pay him back this money that he had lent him, he said, "Look, you got me out of such a sticky hole and a situation that I was in. I want to repay you back with even more. And I can give you the opportunity to send back one of your kids, not back, but send one of your kids to the UK for a quote unquote better life." So at that point, my granddad looked at his kids, and he had 7 kids at that point, and the youngest was my dad, who was only 13. And bear in mind, he grew up in a very rural part of Bangladesh, basically a village. And then he had the opportunity to go to the UK. So my dad, at the age of 13, went to the UK, couldn't speak English, didn't have any friends, only had 1 or 2 not immediate family members around him. But again, based off of that experience, he was able to go to school, work at the same time, actually have to go through a lot. For probably a lot of 18-year-olds would suffer, let alone a 13-year-old. But he was able to build a life there because there was a certain person that he worked with that kind of took him under his wing and helped him and looked after him, basically. Now, if I look towards me and if I think about what's the thing that gives me the most energy, I think it's really in whichever area that I'm doing. So whether it's the job that I'm doing as my day job, or if it's something that I'm doing outside of work, or anything that I'm aligned in, if I'm focused on just helping myself, that doesn't motivate me as much. And it doesn't really get me out of bed. But if I know that, okay, there's a team of us working together, or if I was to do this X amount of people could be impacted, that's something that actually makes me get up and want to really do it to the best of my ability. Now, I don't know if that is my strength, or if that's my why, or if that's what I've been built to do, but at least I think it's moving towards the right direction. And I think if I continue to pursue this, then it will all kind of click in place. But I think I'm not far off, but it's kind of giving me the direction to move towards. But I don't know, based on what I said, is that more my why or is that a purpose?
I'd say that's more of a purpose based on a why. So I'd say it's a purpose based on because of what you've seen happen in your family. So
but it's interesting because that story, Daniel, I only found out about that story last year. And I always found that I'm the type of person that likes to do this anyway. And I enjoy kind of, but then it was only last year when I heard that story, then it was like, oh, so that's probably why it's kind of built into. So
it's kind of fueled it and kind of reignited that because what you're saying, it just made me realize remember something that, you know, the two most important days of your life, the day you were born and the day you discover why. And I feel like you've always kind of in the back of your head known what you want to do and what your purpose is. And hearing and understanding the story has almost kind of reignited that and brought that back to life. That's my understanding from what you said. But I would say it's more of a purpose than your why. I would say that it's your purpose, but the reason why you want to do it subconsciously is also because of the, you know, some hardships that have happened in the past. That's just my conjecture.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Why?
Ollie,
I would connect it more to his why.
Yeah.
Just because I think it's I think it's what motivates you and what's your drive because of the journey in which your family's been through and the opportunities that you've been able to have due to sort of the situations and scenarios that happen in your family and your father taking those opportunities that were given to him. So I think it's one of those areas where, and I think it's similar to a lot of people that have come from third world or a certain level of what I'd class as poverty, not to obviously crazy extremes, right? And move into sort of the Western world. And knowing your story, knowing your background, knowing your heritage, you're able to say, look, if all these opportunities that I had, if my family have had that opportunity, I'm sure they would have done 5 times, 10 times as much. So now, due to that opportunity and the chances I've been given, I've got to make sure that I succeed to take my family to the next level and build. I see it more as your why. I still feel like you still need to find out your purpose in terms of what you're on this earth to do, what you're just naturally great at, what drives you, what you'll do for free in that term. But I think now you have your why, which I don't feel like you need both of them. It needs to work hand in hand. You need your why to get you up and keep you driven, and during those difficult times, you're able to get up. But then when you find your purpose, that's when it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with Olu.
Cool. There's more why. Yeah, I need to.
I think ultimately, it does come down to a lot of how much time have we really spent on thinking about our purpose.
Yeah,
because I think it takes deep work, and I think it takes maybe a form of therapy or some sort of transformational type workshops to really go into this is how you get closer towards your actual calling and your purpose. And one of the things actually that maybe is a bit scary, I find maybe a bit scary, is that I have this feeling that my purpose is totally different to maybe what I'm doing now. So we'll see.
But at least the first step for anything, though, is just to have the conversation and become aware, right?
Yeah, it's true.
All right, P. We should do the wrap up, bro. Courtesy.
So, guys, so I think it was a topic of all topics about purpose. I just hope that this episode encourages our listeners to think a bit more about their purpose, or even their why. Maybe that could be a sort of stepping stone to get into their purpose. But I think what I've taken from this personally is I think we should, as young people that have the aspirations to contribute towards society, take more time to think about what we're actually supposed to be doing, and how we can help a wider society. So thanks for the time, guys. Really good discussion like always, and look forward to the next episode.
Thank you all for listening to episode 47 of Take Flight Podcast. Find us on Instagram at Take Flight Podcast and on Gmail at takeflightpodcast@gmail.com. Remember, merchandise back in stock, limited availability.
Big secret, big secret. But we've got hats back in stock, guys.
Peace.
If you want them, DM.
Take care.
See you soon.
Take off, take flight.